and how was your journey like into becoming a founder of Ventress, man? I understand that you guys are gonna be able to facilitate native Bitcoin for borrowing and lending, and I believe the only thing that can facilitate a swap that has native Bitcoin is Thorchain. So it's pretty cool on the innovation side of things that native Bitcoin is becoming a thing across the multi-chain space.
Yeah, no, just to touch on the Bitcoin thing real quick, and then I'll go back and talk about that. Yeah, I think that's going to be a really important kind of aspect to the internet computer is the native Bitcoin integration, which just went live. I think for a long time, Bitcoin holders have kind of been robbed of real utility in the DeFi sense. The only real way to get utility out of your Bitcoin is to wrap it and bridge it. And for most people, that's just not something they're willing to do. It's really expensive. Bridges are notoriously vulnerable to hacks. I think we lost like $2 or $3 billion last year in bridge hacks. So a lot of Bitcoin people, especially because Bitcoin people are so kind of Bitcoin maxis tend to not be as risk tolerant. So I think now that other chains are starting to develop like native integrations of Bitcoin, we'll finally be able to see some real DeFi utility that maybe some Bitcoin maxis would be willing to work with.
Does
But
it
yeah, I
use
got into
Lightning
crypto. Yeah,
or how does it?
no, so it the way it works kind of on a high level, it definitely gets pretty complicated pretty quickly, but on a high level, the way it works is smart contracts on the internet computer basically hold a public Bitcoin address, and the private key to that Bitcoin address is split up between a bunch of different nodes on the internet computer. And so anytime your smart contract wants to make a call on the Bitcoin layer one network, it basically hits up all the different nodes and it's like, all right, let's combine this key and we'll whatever send some Bitcoin. So it never leaves the Bitcoin layer one network, but our smart contracts have the capability of basically making calls on the Bitcoin layer one.
That's super neat.
So can you touch on the maxis? Like, have you talked to a few of them? And I'm
Mhm.
guessing there's two camps, right? There those that really don't care about smart contract, and those are kind of coming around, especially after the ordinals. If you had to guess, right, do you think there's a greater willingness to embrace that conversation? There's still a staunch like maxi stance that says no to smart contract and they're more dominant than the other group.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty inherent to most Bitcoin maxis that they're going to be anti-progress in a sense, which I think is a good thing. I think it's important that we have people that are kind of willing to stand by some strict guidelines and not budge on them, even if it kind of seems silly in the moment. I appreciate that there are people like that in the community because we definitely need that. And there's a big camp of that within the Bitcoin scene, just people that won't be willing to do DeFi if there's any sort of additional trust needed, which is totally understandable. But there is a lot of people that have a lot of Bitcoin and have had it for a long time, and they don't want to sell it, but they do want to get access to some sort of value from it. So something like a borrowing and lending protocol where the level of trust assumptions added is very small, and you're able to get full access to using your Bitcoin as collateral and borrowing against it. I think that's going to be a huge deal for a lot of people that are a little bit more willing to risk their assets. So yeah, I mean, we definitely got a lot of feedback in both directions. Some people that are just never willing to use it, which we've understood, but definitely some people looking forward to it.
Yeah, and I don't know if you know about that, but Eric Wall, I think he was there, maybe not the ETH Denver, but like some session that was around the event for Starkware, and he was suggesting like the idea of having ZKs as like a scaling solution for BTC. Do you have any thoughts on that, like, or any feedback on that?
Yeah, ZKs for Bitcoin. I mean that would be interesting. I wonder what level of privacy that would give users. Um, Yeah, that'd be interesting. I haven't heard about that necessarily, but I'm a math nerd at heart, and I do love me some ZK technology. I wish I was able to work on it a bit more, but it's definitely something that I keep up on, just kind of on the side for fun. Oh, wait, I remember you were asking me about how I got into crypto. I'll give just kind of the
Yeah, yeah,
short,
yeah.
fun story. So, I studied math back in college, and I had just kind of like a tertiary interest in crypto for a while, just kind of watching it from the side, and because I liked math, anything that had to do with cryptography and kind of brought it into the mainstream was cool in my book. But I graduated in the summer of 2020, right into kind of the whole COVID pandemic, and I was planning to go into data science, but uh, yeah, graduating right into the pandemic, I didn't really have any job opportunities, and kind of all the career aspirations for being a data scientist was like, oh, go work at Google or some big tech company that I don't really align with necessarily ideologically. So I decided kind of just on a whim to go all in on crypto. It'd been something I'd been following for a while, and I don't know. I thought there was an opportunity for me to pick up some skills and become really useful. So I just taught myself Solidity and started working freelance for different NFT and DeFi projects. And then I met my co-founder Carl, working on a project together. And yeah, I had my eye on the internet computer for a while. Besides the native Bitcoin integration that I was talking about, they also, just due to the way the internet computer is set up, your entire website lives on chain. So not only does your smart contract live on the chain like on Ethereum, but then also your front and your back end can live entirely on chain in a decentralized manner. So I thought that was just really compelling. I think the current kind of setup right now for most DeFi projects is you have your smart contracts on chain, like on Ethereum, but then you have a front end which is probably hosted on AWS. You have your back end maybe on Google Cloud or AWS or whatever, and maybe you're running through an Infura node, and those are all points of failure where it's fairly centralized. We see on a somewhat regular basis whatever AWS goes down and people aren't able to access the Uniswap front end, for instance. So I think kind of to be really taken seriously as a decentralized application, you have to have a decentralized front and back end. Like it just doesn't really make sense. So I thought that was an interesting kind of next step in the whole crypto kind of landscape. And yeah, they hadn't had like a really strong borrowing and lending protocol being built on there. So we kind of just decided to take up the mantle and start working on that.
And when did you guys start working on Finterest?
It was just under a year ago. I think March 14th was the first GitHub commit of last year. So we're just creeping up on a year. And we're like I mentioned at the start, but we're going through our audit process with QuantStamp right now, and we're planning to go live right when that's finished. So definitely keep an eye on us. We'll be going live soon.
Sweet, man. And like, do you think that like was so last cycle, ICP obviously came out last cycle, like was a lot of this stuff just not ready at that time? A lot of the infrastructure?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a tough position that Definity is in because they have such a ambitious vision, but it's obviously not possible to launch with everything that they're envisioning ready. So they had to pick some point to go live with whatever percentage of features they were happy with. So yeah, they went live, and a lot of features were missing that were necessary to build DeFi, for instance. And so there was some cool stuff that got built on there early on. One of the projects called Discover, spelled Discover without any of the vowels. It's a completely on-chain social media platform, kind of similar to Reddit, but like I mentioned, everything is decentralized, everything's on-chain, and they have like built-in payment rails, so you can tip people with Bitcoin, for instance. And so yeah, there was some cool novel stuff being built, but during the hype of the bull run, everyone just kind of wanted to see whatever DeFi projects fork go live, or whatever kind of the flavor of the month was. And ICP just wasn't ready to go kind of with that kind of stuff. So most people ignored it. Plus, there was the whole debacle with the token price. It got listed early on FTX perpetuals, I guess. And so when the token actually went live for trading, the price was already like super pumped up, and could only go down from there. So there's definitely kind of a lot of stigma to get over, but I'm hoping that the short memory of crypto Twitter will kind of serve us to benefit us in this next run. And when people kind of come back and see that there's real stuff being built, hopefully they'll forgive and forget any lost money.
Yeah, I think some chains can definitely pivot and they'll be completely fine as long as like there's reasons to go use ICP. And do you think that so you mentioned, the Bitcoin lending thing. So what other parts of it are you like really excited about as far as like ICP specifically?
Yeah, so the next kind of big milestone on the horizon for Dfinity is the ETH integration. So at that point, we'll have access to not only Ether but all ERC20 tokens in the same way that we have access to Bitcoin. So our smart contracts will also be able to exist on Ethereum, and we'll be able to take advantage of all of the tokens um, on Ethereum. So I think that's kind of the point where things are going to get a bit exponential, and ICP can kind of start serving as a hub between different blockchains, kind of removing some of that walled garden effect. The example I always like to use is the Avalanche bridge. I don't know if you guys remember when Avalanche went live. They had that incentive program
Yeah, I
where
loved
if you bridged
Avalanche.
over from Ethereum, you would get paid a little AVAX,
Apex, yeah.
and so that was really, yeah, it was really successful in stealing a bunch of TVL from Ethereum for a temporary time, but eventually it just went on to the next flavor of the month chain. And I think it would be good if we kind of moved away from that model of having chains be adversarial and just have better kind of cooperation between chains. I think that's a kind of vision worth moving towards, and I think ICP can help facilitate that.
Sweet. So yeah, like ICP, it's going to be able to bridge to like any chain that has EVM. And what's the time frame that y'all are looking like ICP is looking to launch the EVM compatible
Yeah.
part?
Yeah, so I think one of the big pieces of feedback that we gave, that all the teams gave when we went to the headquarters at Zurich in Zurich, was we need like a bare minimum functioning version of this ASAP, mostly so we can have access to Ethereum stablecoins for DeFi. Without kind of a strong stablecoin, there's not a whole lot of use for DeFi. So having that capability is really important. So I think they're going to try and ship like a bare minimum MVP version of the ETH integration in the next like 3 to 4 months. And then after that, they'll kind of work on a more thorough integration, which would then be able to be applied to pretty much any EVM chain. So that's probably within like the 6 months to a year range. But yeah, they're looking to get a really MVP out ASAP to help the DeFi projects.
Oliver, my question for you now is, given that we're talking about Bitcoin here, do you think ICP in the next few years would be able to have some integration with things like Sovereign, stacks, and other things that are trying to facilitate things on Bitcoin? And how do you think that looks like? We don't really know how the UI is going to look like for the end user, and I think that's something that some projects are now emphasizing in UI, mobile integration, and things like that. I myself, I've never interacted with the other obscure parts of Bitcoin like ordinals or anything like that, so I'm not sure how that looks like on the user interface. But I would love to know your thoughts on this with ICP and the inevitable future of Bitcoin, which, in my opinion, is going to be facilitated through DeFi, not so much just as a payment solution, or as some people call it, a store of wealth. I think it's going to be an innovation hub, albeit a lot lesser than things like Ethereum, in my opinion. But nonetheless, I think it's going to be a playground for all things growth. And I'm sorry if there's like a bit of a background. I'm driving at the current moment. My favorite meat store is closing in the next like 30 minutes or so, so I'm kind of in a rush right now.
Understandable. No man would judge you for that. Yeah, I mean, yeah, Bitcoin, I guess, has a bit of like a narrative issue right now. At one point, the narrative was kind of, oh, it's a hedge against inflation, and then inflation cranked up and Bitcoin dropped whatever 75%. So we had to kind of move on to the next narrative of, I guess, like right now it's a store of value, which I think makes sense. And at the same time, I think just because something's a store of value doesn't mean that you don't want like access to financial tools to leverage that. I mean, people buy real estate as like a store of value, and still, what you want to take out a mortgage against your real estate or take out loans against it. So I think still having access to at least like the most basic of DeFi capabilities for your store of value is still a really important thing. But I think, yeah, with ICP, I think kind of the sky's the limit at this point. Once your contract is holding Bitcoin on the layer one, is treated just like any other token in your contract. It's super easy to program. You can program smart contracts on the IC in Rust. So anyone that's been working on Rust for the last couple months, your time has not been wasted there. So yeah, I think I mean I've already seen some really creative stuff. Like I said, Discover's already using Bitcoin tipping for their platform. So if someone posts something that you like, you can tip them some Bitcoin. And I think kind of that's just going to be the beginning of the creative stuff that people come up with. I do know that someone's building some sort of NFT marketplace for ordinals on ICP. Bob Bodily is his name, Bodily, if you want to go check him out and see what he's working on. But yeah, there's a lot of excitement in the IC community for building Bitcoin stuff, which I think is it's a breath of fresh air. There's not been a lot of excitement around Bitcoin on kind of like the building level for a while. But with the ordinals and with ICP finally going live with the Bitcoin integration, I think that's changing.
We can start, doing a bit broader of a deep dive into Pinterest. How are things looking for you guys first half of 2024? What are you guys seeking to accomplish? Because I know right now you guys are very early stage and all the ongoing. So what are some things down the pipeline that we can expect Pinterest to do? And yeah, would love to know about anything towards the future.
Yeah. So like I mentioned, we're finishing up our audit with QuantStamp right now. So keep an eye on us to go live, hopefully within like the next 6 to 8 weeks, but we'll see. We'll see. Audits are always fun and problems always spring up when you least expect them. But I think we're finally getting into the wrapping up stage of that. So yeah, we're gonna go live with the Bitcoin integration. So you'll be able to borrow and lend your ICP tokens as well as your Bitcoin, both natively and with the wrapped option on ICP. And so I think mostly that's kind of our opportunity to kind of capture most of the ICP market that already exists. There's a lot of people that are earning rewards in ICP from staking that need somewhere to put them. They don't want to necessarily market sell them, so they can come lend it out on our platform and borrow Bitcoin against it if they want. So that'll be going live, and then, like I mentioned, the ETH integration is when we think things are going to really ramp up, probably in the next 3 to 4 months. Once we're getting access to all the ERC20 tokens, USDC, Ether, we think that's when things are going to really ramp up, and we're going to start kind of pushing the marketing and getting people in the Ethereum community excited about this too. Yeah, I think people in the Ethereum community are definitely more risk tolerant than Bitcoin people, and are more willing to try out some novel technology. And I think we'll be able to get them excited. A lot of the people that we talked to at ETH Denver had never heard about it before, and we were able to convert some people, I think. So people are definitely excited about it. People are sick of using bridges. I know that anyone that's used a bridge before knows how painful it is, how expensive it is, how much it sucks sitting there waiting for all those 20 confirmations to go by. So as soon as you try the alternative and see how quick and easy it is, I think we're going to pick up a lot of traction.
So yeah, if you want to go ahead and explain like what would you say ICP is trying to accomplish or like what it is, given that like some people in the audience don't know.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of it's hard to describe in a sentence. I know it's kind of silly to say, but I think it really pushes the narrative and the paradigm forward a step from Ethereum, in the same way that going from Bitcoin to Ethereum, we finally got like programmable money. Now I think we're getting a full decentralization of the full web stack. So instead of hosting bits and pieces of your protocol on chain, but having a lot of the components not be decentralized, you're finally going to be able to host your whole website on chain. It has DAO tooling built into it, with already like fundraising features live. So if you have a project that you want to raise money for from the community and set up a DAO for, the structure for that is already built in place at the protocol level. So that component is really easy to spin up, which I think is going to be a huge, exciting
Yeah,
piece
that's
for
pretty
people
awesome.
during the next bull run. They've been doing a lot to target kind of countries that haven't had as much representation in the Western tech space. I mean, it makes sense if you're a U.S. based company like us. It's a lot easier to get access to like Silicon Valley money. But I mean, imagine if you're on the other side of the planet, raising money is a lot harder. So if you're able to, yeah, have that kind of built-in community excitement around the DAO tooling and the fundraising that goes on there, I think that's going to be a huge opportunity for people next run. Excuse me. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's hard to explain briefly. I would definitely go check out some of Definity's content on the Internet Computer. Check out their roadmap. They have a crazy ambitious roadmap, and they have a ton of money. So I think there's a good chance they're able to pull it off. And yeah, we're just excited to be building kind of the foundation layer of DeFi on the IC. We're super excited to see what people build on top of it in the next couple of years.
Sweet man, and what's your experience been like as far as raising money and the VC space? Like, has it been pretty active? And have you seen like a big appetite for people to hop onto ICP, and or is it still you feel like pretty early as far as like institutionally?
Yeah, there's a handful of people in the IC space that have just a ton of money and are looking to fund projects that are building real important stuff. But kind of once you leave the community, it becomes a lot harder. Uh, you have to spend basically as much time in informing people about what the IC is as you do about your project itself. So it's been a bit of an issue kind of once we reach outside of the community, but definitely getting started. There's a ton of people that are putting out resources and trying to get real projects built. So the community itself is very supportive. We just have to do a better job of kind of teaching people outside the community why they should be interested in the IC.
For sure. And what would you recommend to people who are like trying to build? You know, what should they research? Who should they talk to? Like, what, given that you're a founder, if you want to build in the crypto space, like, what do you think some of the first steps that people should take?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, for the IC, for ICP specifically, they have a really good grant program. Lamesh runs that, and he's a great guy, and he'll definitely not on top of just giving out money, he definitely puts people in touch with other projects in the space that would be of benefit. So definitely reach out to them if you're interested in building something. They also have a huge list of bounties. So one of the things they're working on is their own smart contracting language called Motoko, which we built all our smart contracts on. The language is pretty solid right now, and it has a lot of good developer tooling, but there's still some libraries that need to get built out. So there's a lot of bounties available for that and other parts of the IC as well. So if you're a programmer looking to get started, definitely check out bounty programs, because one of the hard things about getting started is just like finding work to do. You're willing and able, but getting in the right places and knowing the right people can be hard. But bounty programs make it super easy, because they tell you exactly what needs to get done, and all you need to do is just do it. So definitely check out the Definity bounty page. Help out there. If you have an idea for a project, go for a grant for sure. They're definitely willing to give out money to prospective builders. So yeah, if you're a coder, it's a pretty easy way to get into the scene quickly.
Nice. And is there like, are you guys gonna look at NFTs on ICP at all, or is it primarily focused on DeFi? Like, have you seen any interest on the NFT scene?
Yeah, actually, the NFT space on the IC is really big. That was kind of one of the first capabilities that was live on the Internet Computer. So the OG speculators on the IC are all NFT people. So the big NFT marketplace is called Entrepot, ENTREPOT, I believe. You can check them out. We actually gave out a free NFT to our early Discord members, we didn't put any fee or royalty on it. We just gave it out as a token of appreciation to the early adopters, and definitely keep an eye on those going into launch. But yeah, there's some cool stuff going on the NFT side of things. A lot of big like metaverse projects and like metaverse games are getting built on the IC. And I think yeah, hopefully those start going live soon too. I think there's a lot of creative possibilities that could be built on the IC that uh yeah, I hope start getting built soon.
Sweet man, appreciate it. And then I see if some familiar faces in here. If anybody wants to come up and speak, you can just hit that request to speak button and we'll bring you up. Do you have any other questions, Dow Chemist?
Yeah, I do. Thanks for asking. Yeah, so love the presentation. Love the way you describe ICP and your project. Uh, my question is like you kind of position ICP as like the evolution of Ethereum, right? The same way Ethereum was the evolution of Bitcoin. And I think the way I would describe the adoption of Ethereum was it brought a new crowd to crypto, right? First to the ICO era, and then to the NFT era. Uh, do you think it will be the same for ICP and specifically? Did you think is going to be more of the existing smart contract developers and NFT collectors that really like, onboard ICP, or do you think it's going to be like a complete new crowd, people that maybe not a lot of exposition to crypto, that just because now it's, as you say, it's like everything is really decentralized, everything is brought on chain. Now it's a lot easier for them to be on board. So maybe like Rust developers, for example, maybe more attracted. Which of the two crowd do you think is going to be more present and bringing like this adoption for ICP?
Yeah, I think one of the things I'm really excited about with ICP is kind of the wallet infrastructure and the identity infrastructure. There's a lot of different ways to have an identity on the internet computer other than just through a browser extension wallet like we're used to with Ethereum. I think we've kind of taken for granted the wallet, the browser extension wallet, and how terrible of a user experience that is. And I think we've kind of forgotten, for kind of like your average person who just uses an iPhone, for instance, for them to set up a browser extension wallet, copy down a seed phrase, store that safely, import it into a new browser. Like, it's just a complete nightmare. No one wants to do that. Even seasoned Ethereum developers lose their stuff all the time. Like, it's just a nightmare. And so I think with ICP, we have an opportunity to do way better with that. There's a lot of projects building. One of them is called Internet Identity. So instead of having a seed phrase, you're able to use something like, for instance, your iPhone's Face ID, or if you have a MacBook, you have the little fingerprint scanner, and so that's basically your way of securing your wallet and your keys. And so then from there, you can have a bunch of different wallets, specific wallets for specific DeFi apps if you want. And it's just a way better user experience. You don't have to have a shitty little Chrome extension, and it has like a real, actual, usable mobile experience. That's not the nightmare that MetaMask Mobile is. So I think there's the potential for a real user experience that is as simple as downloading and using an iPhone app, which is where we need to get if we want to see like mass adoption. Which I know is a bit of a meme at this point, but I think it's a real truism. And yeah, so I think being able to use that real easy user experience with ICP, and then being able to connect to other blockchains is going to be a real game changer, because it's going to mean using Ethereum smart contracts and apps is going to be as easy as, like I said, downloading an iPhone app and using a real actual mobile wallet. So yeah, I'm really excited about that, and I'm hoping that will attract kind of the new wave of ICP users in the next run.
All right. Well, if anyone has some closing thoughts, feel free to do so. I know we had a hard cap of 45 minutes, Oliver, so I want to respect your time and also our producer's time, who's pretty much coming up on, what is it, Mr. Producer? 4 hours nonstop, man, back to back to back to back. So shout out to our producer. And also, Oliver, I want to thank you for taking the time out of your evening to come up and talk some shop about all things ICP, and to also introduce your product, man. You're a well-spoken individual. And I look forward to talking to you more off this platform and seeing the innovation that you're going to produce, brother. And also want to thank Dow Chemist and also our boy Payne for coming up and holding it down as usual, man. If anyone here is a new listener to these spaces, my name's Wabi. I host these spaces sometimes throughout the week, depending on the scheduling that I have outside of Twitter and all those things. It's all subject as well to time zone differences and things of that nature. But all of my replays for the spaces that I produce for Because Bitcoin can be found on our YouTube channel and also on my pinned tweet. So if you enjoy these things, feel free to follow us here and also check out my pinned tweet for all the replays and some small breakdowns of all the spaces that I've done over the last couple of months. And without further ado, I want to announce our next space, which is tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. We will be hosting the Say Network and one of their co-founders, Dan Edelbeck. And that's going to be a general AMA and general DeFi discussion about what Say is all about. So look forward to that. And we also have CeeLo Finance, which is building on Arbitrum on Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time as well. And we also have ZK Casino on Sunday and I believe on Saturday. It's not confirmed yet, but we're going to be hosting a protocol called Nolus. So look forward to that. That's the schedule, the tentative schedule at least so far for Crypto World Radio, hosted here on the Because Bitcoin Twitter Spaces. So without further ado, thank you so much to all of our speakers, gentlemen, ladies in the audience. Feel free to follow all the
Thank you so
speakers
much, Oliver.
and
Great to meet you.
Oliver, where can people find you, brother, outside of Twitter?
Thank you, man. Yeah, definitely follow me here on Twitter. Follow the Finterest ICP account on Twitter. That's pretty much where you can find me. I'm not a super public dude in general, but I definitely got to spread the good word of ICP. So I appreciate the time. Appreciate having me on here, and definitely look forward to keeping in touch.
Perfect, man. Perfect.
You
All
as
right,
well, man.
guys. Take care, and God bless you all. Have a good rest of your Wednesday, ladies and gentlemen. I'll see you all tomorrow.
The trading current is just math. It's just math. It has a 95.45% hit rate when we deviate outside of CP2 and CN2. All you had to do is recognize that 95% of the time when we get over here, under this blue line, we get some sort of mean reversion. So let's just assume you long right here. 95 out of 100 times, when I buy this, I'm gonna get some sort of bounce. It's just math. Look what would have happened as we move up. Look at the bounce that came after. And now look where we are. If you had just blindly followed the current, you take all emotions out of it, and you say, I'm going to trust the statisticians. You would have bought Dow Jones somewhere down here under 30,000, depending on how you want to measure it from absolute top to bottom, 20% move. We also have multi-time frame alerts. You don't even have to be at your computer on TradingView. It can ping your phone. Now, the current has some really awesome features, and I would urge you guys to join our Discord to get access to it. We give it away for free as a tool to the community. It's just math. There's really no need to overcomplicate things, not even in the slightest.